Stephen Alcoholic.
Stephen.
Thanks for the opportunity to share, and thanks for cheering for me, Joe. Supposed to share what it was like, what happened, and what it's like now. I wasn't going to because our war stories are all the same. They're all different but the same. But there are some newcomers in the room, so I'll touch a little bit on the war stories. But I'm going to keep it as short as possible on that side of it because, as I say, they're all the same. I grew up in a normal family. There was no alcoholism in my family. No direct alcoholism. Uncles and that stuff there was, but my family was normal. And I use the term normal in the broader sense because I still don't know what normal is. But yeah, I know from a young age, I was one of those kids that just felt like I didn't fit in. I matured later than the other kids. I was very shy. I was an intelligent child, but I was very shy, very shy. So of course, and I wanted at the same time to be seen. So I tried to fit in with all the different groups. I never quite fitted in with them. Primary school wasn't so bad. High school got a lot worse as far as that goes because teenagers are a nightmare. And when I was one, I was a nightmare teenager. And of course, I got in with the kids, being that I was an alcoholic. I think I was alcoholic. I think I was born alcoholic because when I think back through all my youth, my childhood, there was always stuff. And as I say, I never fitted in. I think I was born dishonest because I could never ever take responsibility for anything, even as a young child. Got drunk the first time at 13, loved it. Probably the best, up until then, probably the best thing I think I'd ever done in my life. And it started there. I loved sport. I do love sport. I was blessed with some natural talent. And I ended up playing hockey and cricket at a very high level. So much so that let's just backpedal. High school. So I did very well in sports at high school, but I was also expelled from school for drinking. Never saw it as an issue. It was the headmaster's fault for expelling me. It was the school's fault. It was the other kids' fault. It was everybody's fault that I got drunk at a school gala and got expelled. Didn't see it as an issue. It was because all my friends drank, and we actually spoke about this in a meeting a while ago. About I hung out with all the other kids who drank as well, who drank and used drugs as well, because that's where I felt like I fitted in. But those kids now, I still see some of them every now and again. They've got families, jobs, great lives, good careers and stuff, because they weren't addict and alcoholic. They were people who drank a lot and used drugs. That's who they were. Not like me. I was an alcoholic and an addict, and I didn't know when to stop. So yeah, and then got to go overseas. And I always used to joke about it because a friend of ours always used to go out. When we lived in England, he used to go out every weekend. He'd go out and go and do something. He'd go to a music concert. He'd go and see different cities and go and see all the sights and stuff. We'd see the pubs. And when I toured Europe, I was speaking to someone in fellowship a while ago. I've been to something like, 20 countries in Europe, but I haven't seen anything in Europe. I've seen the pubs because I always knew where to find the pub. I'm an alcoholic. I got the opportunity to play cricket overseas professionally. I was given a 5-year contract, and they terminated it after 2 years. Because one of the things I did, for example, I turned up on the second day of a 4-day game. I missed the whole of the first day. I still don't really remember why I missed the first day. I just remember waking up 60 kilometers from home, 60 kilometers from the ground, and not knowing where I was or how I got there, and it was 3 o'clock in the afternoon. Don't know what I'd done the night before because I was a blackout drinker. I used to drink and blackout. That was one of the incidents. I stopped practicing because it cut into my drinking time. And obviously alongside that was relationships. I couldn't hold down relationships. I didn't see playing professional sport as a job. And they were lucky to have me. I was so good, they were lucky to have me. So because they were lucky to have me, I didn't have to practice. Needless to say, after 2 years, they terminated my contract because I wasn't performing to the standards I was supposed to. And I came back with my tail between my legs, came back to South Africa and decided that it was sport's fault and I wasn't playing anymore. At a professional level, I'd get back, I'd get up and do life. Surprisingly enough, various jobs, being an alcoholic, I couldn't hold down a job. I used to work till 1 o'clock and then go for pub lunch, and I wouldn't go back to work. And I'd always find a reason, and it would be the lies around it. Go tell the boss, listen, I've got a big client, I'm taking them for lunch, and I might not be back. Don't know how many big clients the boss thought I had, because I did it 3 times a week. Pub lunch 3 times a week. But of course, always get found out because I can't hide that stuff. And of course, with the alcohol came alcohol being a downer. I started using other substances to pick myself up. So I could go to I'd drink all night and then I want to go to work, so I've got to take something the next day because I've got to hold down a job. So I started on other substances. And it started the roller coaster, up, down, up, down. And basically my life was an absolute nightmare. As I say, I couldn't hold on a job. My parents didn't want to know me. I was genuinely somebody, I think I went from, I said I was born alcoholic. I think my visible behavior changed when I was 17, and I think I crossed an invisible line where I became an active alcoholic at 17. And I think I stopped growing emotionally and spiritually at 17. So all through my life, all through my 20s, all into my early 30s, I was 17 in here, and in here I was 17. And I saw life like a 17-year-old. That life owed me something. Society owed me something. The world owed me something. Don't they know who I think I am? And needless to say, nothing ever worked out. I couldn't hold down relationships at all. Treated women like toys, basically, because it was all about me, what I get out of life. And I look back now, well, in recovery, I look back and I see how selfish I actually was. Even when I was being selfless, I was actually being selfish because I wanted something back for it. My entire life was about, I want something back. I'll do this for you, but you got to do X or Y for me. And that was my whole life. And there were arrests for drunk driving, there were arrests for public disorder, there were arrests for fights, there were arrests for all sorts of things. It was never enough because I could always justify what I was doing with my behavior. I love live music. One of the instances I'll share, there was a concert in South Africa, it was 4 different bands playing. And the last one was my favorite one. And we went out and we partied up a storm, and I remember to the middle of the third one. Don't remember seeing my favorite musician. I was there, the people have told me I was there. And my friends have got photographs of me there. Don't remember it. So I can't, in all honesty, say I've seen this particular band live. Because although I was there, I don't remember a single thing. Because towards the end of my active alcoholism, I blacked out every time I drank. And I remember one night waking up at 3 o'clock, or one morning waking up at 3 o'clock in the morning on the floor of the toilet cubicle in the pub. They'd all closed up, everything was closed, and we'd gone home. And I was sleeping on the floor in the cubicle. I walked out and I tried to open the window, and the alarms went off, and the security arrived with guns, and the owner arrived, and the cops arrived, and there was me trying to get out the window because I'd fallen asleep in the pub. And they just left me there. No one knew I was there. But none of that stuff, that's not normal. That's not what normal people do. They drink, they have fun, they go home. Through a sequence of events, my life, as I say, was a mess. I could not, as I say, no job. I was 32 and moved back in with my parents because I literally couldn't pay rent in any property. I'd become unemployable because I couldn't hold down a job. I'd stolen from petty cash. I'd done all sorts of things. And my sister, who'd been in and out of the rooms for a couple of years before me, invited a friend who just moved to the area for a cup of coffee at my mom's house. And I just moved back in with my mom. And I was embarrassed about moving back in with my mom at 32. You shouldn't be living with your parents at 32. You shouldn't be back with your parents at 32. And this lady came, 33 I think, this lady came to visit. And they just moved here. She was an English lady from England, and they just moved here. And she and my sister had made friends, and they were having coffee and having a chat. And I came along and I was introduced to her, and her name was Julia. I don't know if anybody in these rooms may or may not know her. She and her partner at the time had just started the House on the Hill. And the night before she'd come, I'd been arrested. Not arrested, I passed out in my car outside in the middle of the main road. And the cops came and drove me home. I remember the cop putting me in the passenger seat and driving my car home. And I said to the cop, I don't live here. You don't know where I live. I live in Scotland. I just live around the corner. The cop said, no, you don't. I know where you live. And he took me home. And just, I was out of it, but I just remember the little thing, seeing my mom's face when she opened that door. And I'd seen it a million times, but something, that particular instance triggered, seeing my mom's face, answering the door with the cops escorting me home. Anyway, the next day, this woman comes for coffee, and I meet her and I'm chatting to her, and I tell her all these stories about my life that she wanted to know who I was, asked a few questions. And unbeknownst to me, she was both a psychologist and a recovering alcoholic addict. And I could con anybody, but I couldn't con her. She was a psychologist. She understood, and one of us, so she understood it. And through a sequence of events, I ended up at the House on the Hill. And she said to me, what do you want? What do you want from your life? Immediately, I said, I want the chaos to stop. I want my life, the chaotic life that I live, to stop. And she said, what if I told you there's a way for the chaotic life to stop? And that led me to the House. And when I got there, there were 3 other people there and me. I was the fourth one to arrive. And they said to me, you want the chaotic life to stop? This is what you do. And I got introduced to the programs I got introduced to the 12 steps and the program of Alcoholics Anonymous. And it was great, because I listened to people in there, listened to people talk there, and they were me. They were telling my story. And often I would sit there and think, but hold on, I haven't written a book, nobody knows what I've done, but they're showing exactly what they've done, and it was me. It was me, and the hope that they gave me, that I didn't have to live that life of chaos anymore, that constant madness that always went on, having to phone to apologize to people, not knowing where I was, can't find my wallet, can't find my car, go tow my car out of the ditch, that kind of stuff. All that stuff could stop. And wow, I had this opportunity, and I think it was the chance for me to live the life I was supposed to live. And my sponsor, or my counselor sponsor at the time, he didn't take any shit from anybody. And he saw it through me in about 5 seconds, and called me out on who I was, and told me this is the only way you could turn your life around. And I embraced it. I loved it. I got this program in the truest sense of the word, with all warts and all. I got this program. There was no diluting, there was no anything. I got this program. So much so that I spent my time, and then I came out and moved back in with my mom and dad. So nothing had changed. I was still living at home, but the difference was I was given an opportunity to do it differently. And I went out and I started trying to find a job again. I took a lowly job, took a job way below my experience and my qualifications and things, because I just needed to work. I needed to start taking responsibility. That's what they said I must do. That's what I did. And I actually quite enjoyed it. And then slowly but surely, as I practiced what they taught me, and I did the next right thing, as they say, and I went to meetings, and I spoke to my sponsor. I said to step 10 every single day for the first 5 years. I never missed a single one. But they said that's what you have to do. And I did, because I just didn't want to go back to that chaos. So I followed every single suggestion they gave me. So much so that I eventually moved to Durban, and a year into my recovery, I got to go to a meeting in Durban, and I sat in the meeting and told them how badly they were running the meeting. I'd become Captain Recovery, and I told them they were doing it wrong, and that's not how you do recovery. This is how you have to do it. And I walked out the meeting so proud of myself. I phoned my sponsor and said, "This is what I did." He said, "Now you've got to go back next week and apologize." So it was the lessons that I had to learn in recovery. I had to learn that I actually don't know very much about life. I don't know very much about anything. I thought I knew everything, but no, I don't know anything. And I went back and apologized. And it was things like that taught me to humble myself. And really get humble. Sitting in that group, apologizing for doing what I perceived to be the right thing wasn't easy, but I did it. And that was just one instance. There's been many, many instances where I've been humbled by this program and humbled by the people in the rooms who call me out on my bullshit. Because, it's still, I could still go there very, very easily, even with some time under my belt. For the first 9 years, I did exactly what I was told in this program, and I sponsored people, and we started meeting. And I grew up in this town, and when I came out of the house, there was one meeting on a Tuesday in Umkomaas. And myself and various other people started meetings up because we thought we needed meetings. We started this one, we started another one in Umkomaas, we started one on the Monday night, we started one on Wednesday, because we needed meetings across both fellowships. Because although my drug of choice, and I use the term very, very broadly, I actually hate that term, was alcohol. I was pretty much a rubbish bin. If it would make me feel different and make me, and excuse my language, if it would fuck me up, I would use it. Because that's who I was. I was an addict. I wasn't a cokehead. It's like an alcoholic saying I only drink beer. It's bullshit. I'm an alcoholic, and alcohol defines a whole lot of different substances full of ethanol, basically. So for the first 9 years I did what I was supposed to do, and I started a business, and I met a woman, and we got involved, and we moved in together, all over a 9-year period. And the business was doing well, and I was doing well, and I stopped sending my step 10 every day, because life was good. I had a business, and it was a successful business, and I was in a great relationship, and life was good. And my sponsor at the time lived 3 doors down from me, and I used to go and see him 3 or 4 times a week. Then it was once a week. Then I wouldn't see him, and I would send a step 10, but I was fine. There was nothing wrong with me. I was fine. I was doing this perfectly. Until I wasn't. And I stopped going to meetings, because I could always justify I'm too busy, I'm too tired, wife needs me, whatever. I could justify it with any excuse under the sun. Needless to say, I ended up having an affair, because things were not good. Things were not as I tried to perceive them to be. And for a 2-year period, my life became an absolute mess. My wife found out about it, and I got kicked out of the house, and I lost my business, and I lost my home, and I lost everything. And 42 years old, back in with mom, because I literally had nothing else. The blessing of it was I never picked up or used in that. I never picked up or drank in that time. I never saw it as a solution. My life was a mess. I had no job, no wife. I was exactly the same place as I was before I came into the house. And my thought patterns were exactly the same as before I came into the house. I did all the things I did in active alcoholism, and in active, I did all those things, stone cold sober. Did all those things without a single substance in my body. I lied, cheated, manipulated, did all that stuff. And I did it for 2 years. In that time, as I say, by the grace of God, I never used drugs or alcohol. What I did do was plan how I was going to kill myself because I couldn't live with life anymore. I couldn't do that anymore. So I thought, like, well, what is the way to do it? I can't overdose. I don't have a fire alarm. I don't know how to do this. It's just so I thought, okay, I'll park my car on the railway line and wait for the train to come, because there used to be trains up and down in those days. And I thought, that's perfect. And I got the train timetable, and it all worked out about the timing that I need for them to not be able to stop fast enough so that I don't survive it. And a little voice in my, and I actually had it all planned. I was going to go down and do it. A little voice in my head said, the train's going to have a driver, and the driver's going to have to live with it for the rest of his life. There was some recovery there. There was still something there. And I didn't do it. And I remember going to my sponsor's house, who I hadn't seen for 2 years, and sitting on his couch and crying like a child, like a spoiled child, because I was a victim and I'd been kicked out of my house and all that. And I'd done it all on myself. And he turned around to me and said, "You're not 5 years old, stop crying." And he said to me, "You brought this on yourself. I've got no sympathy. You want sympathy, phone Lifeline." Literally, that's what he said to me. I think a few people know who I'm referring to here. And he said, "You've got choices. You can go and play the victim for the rest of your life, and you can end up killing yourself, or you can go to a meeting. There's a meeting tonight." And I chose to come back, and I came back to the meeting. And I remember that meeting. It was the Wednesday meeting, and I remember walking into that meeting and people greeting me like I'd never been gone. And I walked in and thought, this is where I belong. For 2 years I'd fought to be where I belong. I'd fought against being where I belong. And I came back in and I started again. And I those days, by this time you could do 90 and 90. I did 90 meetings in 79 days. I went back, I did my steps again, and I started doing everything I learned to do at the very beginning. I started doing it again, because this is where I belong. And I think that 2 years of absolute hell reinforced that this is where I need to be, in these rooms, in this fellowship, doing what I'm doing. And since then, my life has gone back to being brilliant, being great. It's not perfect, but then life isn't perfect. Life is full of challenges, but I'm so blessed. I now have a successful business. My girlfriend at the time, is now my wife, and I took a year out from seeing each other, decided to try again, and we've been married 7 years. And she's an amazing woman. She's not one of us, but she can call me out better than anybody else in the fellowship can. And I need that. I need to be called out. And I've started a business doing indirectly what we do. I have a life coaching business. And I bring the 12 steps into all my coaching, because that is to me is the single greatest way of changing my life, is by following the 12 steps of Alcoholics Anonymous. And I do it. I try to do it to the best of my ability. I don't always get it right, because I'm human. And I like to use an analogy of what recovery has brought me. I think I can't be dishonest anymore, which is brilliant. But I can't be directly dishonest. I still find myself trying to find roundabout ways to get things that I want without being blatantly dishonest about it. And I've got to pull myself back. I've got to talk to my sponsor about it. I've got to talk to people in the fellowship about, what do I do here? This is what my head is telling me to do. But my head lies. My head lies all the time. It still does. And it will continue to lie to me. It's what's in here where the truth lies. If I listen to my heart, not my head, life is great. And as I say, not perfect, but it's great. And I try and paint it that after 20 years in recovery, that I've still got a dodgy neighborhood in my head. They've cleaned it up, they've retarred the roads, fixed all the broken windows, repainted the place, but they can't evict the squatters that are living in there. And those squatters will live there forever. So as good as a neighborhood get, I've still got those squatters, and they're still trying to lie to me, still trying to manipulate me, still trying to stay there, and they will stay there because I can't kick them out. But I know when I do something I shouldn't do, when I say something I shouldn't do, when I lie, cheat, manipulate, because that bloody little voice doesn't go away. It tells me, you need to own this, you need to admit to this, you need to apologize, and it goes on and on and on until I do it. And I respond, and I take the relevant action, and the voice goes away for a while, until the next time I do it, the voice comes back and tells me, you need to own that, you need to own that. And until I do it, that voice doesn't go away. That's my conscience. It's my conscience telling me that what I'm doing is offside, it isn't right or whatever, and I need to take action. And this is a program of action, very much, and I've seen that over the years. And just the greatest example of that was not going to me. He was not doing a step 10, no action, and my life falls apart. And I put the action in, and sometimes I don't know what the action is, but I make a decision and I run with it. And the blessing now is the decisions and the choices that I make won't end up with me being arrested. They won't end up with me screwing up my relationship. They won't end up with me not having a job. What they end up with me is having to apologize. Sometimes the hardest thing for me is to apologize and own my stuff. But I would rather do that than end up in a holding cell somewhere, or end up in a ditch somewhere, or end up kicked out of my house and whatever. I'd rather have to own stuff and apologize for it. And I've learned over the years, apologizing is action, it's not words. I said sorry to various people probably 50,000 times in my life, and I was never sorry because I repeated it. Whatever it was, I apologized for, I repeated it. So I wasn't really sorry. It was my way of trying to get out of trouble. I do apologies now, and I do that by changing my behavior. When I do something I shouldn't be doing, I get called out on it, and I make an effort not to repeat that behavior. And through all that, I've managed to get another year in recovery, and I love this program. Someone said to me once, if you had two pills, a blue one and a red one, and the blue one could allow you to drink and use like normal people, and the red one, you stay an alcoholic, which would you take? I would take the red pill in a heartbeat, because this is how I found my connection with God. This is how I found my connection with people. This is how I found my place in the world. I found it through the fellowship of Alcoholics Anonymous. And I mean, it stopped being about drugs and alcohol a long time ago. It's about behavior. It's about attitude, all that stuff. And this program has given me that. And I look at step 12. And step 12 has taught me that it's very easy for me to sit in the meeting and share my experience and strength and hope with people. Very easy to do that. When I get out there and I'm dealing with non-alcoholic people, non-addict people, and people who I think have done something to me, or have lied, cheated, manipulated, whatever to me, how do I treat them? That's what I can always say, turn around to Joe and say, Joe, practice your program. I can't tell them. How do I deal with them? I still try and treat everybody with dignity. Because the only reason why I do that, and the honest truth is, I feel good when I do it. I feel good when I treat people well. And I started using drugs and alcohol to feel good. Hell, I can feel good without using drugs and alcohol, and that's by treating people, other people, with dignity and respect. I don't have to like them, but I've got to treat them with dignity, because then I start feeling good about myself, and I put that positive stuff out there. And it doesn't matter. I was having this discussion with my sister. She's going through some stuff, and I say to her, well, it doesn't matter what other people do. It doesn't matter what other people think or what they. It doesn't really matter. How does it impact you directly? No, none of your business. Leave it alone. And I've got to keep reinforcing that with myself, because I was taught by that very wise old sponsor of mine that used to say to me, "What other people think is none of your freaking business." And he said, when you connect with that, when you truly connect with that, that is when you'll start finding recovery. When you stop caring what you perceive people think, because half the time they're not even thinking what I think they're thinking. So, because I like to think I'm so important that I'm the topic of everybody's conversation all the time. All the time, I'll walk out through and they'll talk about me till the next meeting, because that's how important I think I am, and I'm really not. And he helped me to understand that that's what it's about. I'm really not that important. But any people are thinking about, they may think about what I'm doing. They may have an opinion on what I'm doing, and that's fine. That's theirs. It's nothing to do with me. I can neither control it nor do I care what it is. It's about me. How do I feel about myself? How do I feel about the world? What am I giving back? And I try and give back as much as I can, because I think on an esoteric and a spiritual level, I sucked the world dry for so long that it would take me 3 lifetimes to give back what I sucked out of the world. So that's what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to give back as much as I can. So yeah, all those newcomers, there's hope. Whatever they tell you to do it. I can promise you that the counsellors and the people, they only got your best interest at heart, and they know what works and what doesn't. So however silly you think it is, or however you don't want to do it, just do it. Just do it. Like Nike, just do it. Because everything is for a reason. And I was also talking to someone before the meeting, you only see when you look back at something. You never see it when you're in it. You see it when you look back. Oh, that's why that happened. That's okay. I understand why X happened or Y happened in my life, or why I did X and Y. You only see it when you look back at it. You don't see it when you're in it. So hopefully, if people stay around in the rooms, they'll look back at instances in their lives where they thought they'd been targeted or called out or whatever, and realized that it was the best thing that could have happened to them. So yeah, I think I'll end there. Thanks.
Thanks.